Captain Eliza Chen felt the defiance respond to her touch as she adjusted their course through the Orc cloud. The experimental warship, barely 3 weeks out of the Ganymede shipyards, moved with a grace that belied its lethal capabilities. Maintaining stealth protocols, Captain, Lieutenant Park announced from the tactical station. We're running at 7% energy signature. Chen nodded, studying the holographic projection of their flight path. The Defiance was officially on a shakedown cruise, testing the revolutionary Mobius drive and the NOVA weapons system in the unpatrolled borders of human space. Fleet Command had been explicit. Observe, record, report. Do not engage under any circumstances. Captain, I'm picking up something. Communications Officer Rivera called out, her dark eyes narrowing at her console. It's fragmented, but it's a distress signal. Colonial Emergency Band. Chen straightened. Source: New Tharsis Colony, Epsilon Eridani System. Rivera's fingers danced across her interface. Signals degraded. They're under attack. The bridge fell silent. The Shard Collective had been methodically eliminating human outposts for the past 3 years, their crystalline vessels appearing without warning, harvesting resources, and colonists alike before disappearing back into the void. Conventional weapons barely scratched their hulls. Play it, Chen ordered. The message crackled through the bridge speakers. Immediate assistance. Shard vessels have bypassed outer defenses. Orbital platforms have failed. They're landing harvester units in the northern quadrant. Thousands of colonists still in. The transmission dissolved into static before a final, desperate plea cut through. This is New Tharsis. Is anyone out there? Chen felt ice form in her stomach. Her sister Mai had relocated to New Tharsis with her family last year, part of the Colonial Expansion Initiative. Her niece had just turned 6. How long would it take to reach them at maximum burn? She asked, keeping her voice steady. Navigator Liang consulted her instruments. 17 hours, Captain. But we'd have to drop stealth protocols. Any other fleet vessels in range? Negative, Park replied after consulting the tactical display. Nearest response force is 4 days out. Chen moved to the central command console, pulling up the Defiance's specifications. The ship represented humanity's most advanced technology, designed specifically to counter the Shard threat. But it was untested, experimental. A prototype never meant to engage in actual combat during this mission. If we divert to New Tharsis, we'd be violating direct orders, Park said quietly, watching her face. Chen looked around at her crew, 15 of Fleet's most brilliant misfits, selected because they thought differently, because they wouldn't follow a losing strategy into oblivion. She'd chosen each one personally after her public criticism of Fleet Command's defensive posture had effectively ended her career advancement. This mission was her last chance at redemption, a bone thrown to the decorated captain who dared to suggest that humanity needed to take risks to survive. Dr. Reyes, she called to the chief engineer who was monitoring the Mobius drive outputs. Could the NOVA system actually work against a Shard formation? The engineer's eyes widened. Theoretically, the simulations were promising, but we have no real-world data on how their crystalline structures would respond to targeted quantum disruption. And if we're facing a full invasion fleet? Reyes hesitated. Then we'd be outnumbered at least 1,000 to 1. Chen's fingers traced the captain's insignia on her collar, the same insignia her father had worn before his ship was lost fighting the Shard at Proxima Centauri. Well, she said, decision made. Then we'd better make every shot count. Liang, plot intercept course to New Tharsis. Tactical, begin power-up sequence for all combat systems. Dr. Reyes, I want the NOVA system at full operational capacity when we arrive. As the crew rushed to their stations, Chen opened her personal terminal and accessed a file she'd kept encrypted since accepting command. Her own theoretical battle plans against superior Shard numbers. Plans Fleet Command had dismissed as suicidally aggressive. Captain, Park said hesitantly, what exactly do you hope to accomplish against an entire Shard fleet? Chen looked up, her expression resolute. We're going to remind them that they aren't the only ones who can evolve. The Defiance surged forward, its experimental drive leaving a momentary ripple in space-time as it accelerated toward what would either be humanity's most stunning victory or its most costly sacrifice. The Defiance dropped out of hyperspace behind Epsilon Eridani's outermost moon, its hull vibrating as the Mobius drive powered down. The massive gas giant provided momentary cover from the Shard fleet's sensors. "Passage scans only," Chen ordered, her voice barely above a whisper despite knowing the vacuum of space wouldn't carry sound. Old habits from submarine warfare training died hard. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the horror unfolding around New Tharsis. The Shard formation hung in space like a meticulously arranged work of crystalline art. 1,247 vessels from Scout-class shards to massive harvesters, all pulsing with cold blue light. "Mother of Earth," Liang breathed. The colony's orbital platforms drifted as twisted debris. On the planet's surface, the northern continent bore a smoldering crater where the capital city had stood. "Magnify Sector 4. Chen instructed, scanning for any sign of the southern districts where her sister lived. The image zoomed in, revealing Shard harvester drones systematically moving through residential areas. Their crystalline appendages glinted in the planet's sunlight as they herded surviving colonists into collection chambers. "Any response to our arrival?" Chen asked. "None, Captain," Rivera reported. "They're either ignoring us or haven't detected us yet." "RIA. Analysis." Chen addressed the ship's eye. A holographic interface materialized beside her, a swirling pattern of light that approximated a human face. The Shard vessels maintain a perfect geometric distribution, Araya reported, her voice melodic yet precise. Their formation demonstrates properties consistent with quantum entanglement, suggesting a unified tactical consciousness rather than individual ship commands. "Can you locate a command structure?" Chen asked. "Processing." Araya's form pulsed as data streams flowed through her projection. Their formation exhibits a recursively geometric pattern, with centralized coordination emanating from the formation's core. The central node appears to be here. A red marker appeared at the exact center of the enemy fleet. "Is anyone still alive down there?" Chen asked, turning to Rivera. The communications officer's fingers danced across her console, broadcasting on all colonial frequencies. For a full minute, nothing but static filled the bridge. Then, a child's voice crackled through. "Hello? Is someone coming to help us?" Rivera adjusted the gain. "I've got a signal. It's coming from a school shelter in the southern district. They're still alive." A woman's voice replaced the child's. "This is Dr. Winters from Archer Elementary. We have 30 children and 4 adults in the basement shelter. The Shard drones are 2 blocks away and moving closer. Please, if anyone's receiving this." Chen closed her eyes briefly. "Send them this message. Hold on. Help is coming." Nothing more. "Captain," Tactical Officer Wayland interrupted. "I've analyzed their patrol patterns. There's no way to approach without being detected by at least 17 vessels. Then we don't sneak in," Chen decided. "Araya. If that central node is their command structure, what happens if we disrupt it?" Theoretical models suggest a cascade effect would propagate throughout the formation, causing temporary disorganization. How temporary? Unknown. No precedent exists for successful disruption of Shard command structures. Chen studied the tactical display, noting the swarming patterns of the smaller vessels. "Show me approach vectors that would give us the highest probability of reaching that central node." Araya displayed 3 potential courses, each threading through narrow gaps in the Shard formation. All showed survival probabilities below 15%. "This is suicide," Wayland muttered. "Got a better idea?" Chen challenged. Wayland stared at the overwhelming enemy force, then looked back at Chen with newfound respect. "No, Captain, I don't." "Dr. Ray's status of the NOVA system." The engineer's voice came through the comm. "Charged and calibrated, Captain. But without field testing, I can't guarantee. No guarantees needed, Chen interrupted. Just make it work. She returned to the command chair, strapping herself in. Inform all hands. Battle stations. Liang, take us in on approach Vector 2. Wayland, arm forward NOVA emitters. The Defiance emerged from behind the moon, its experimental stealth systems bending light around the hull. As they accelerated toward the heart of the enemy formation, Chen activated the ship-wide comm. All crew, this is the captain. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. Remember your training, trust your instincts, and know that regardless of what happens next, today humanity stops running. The Defiance surged forward into the belly of the beast, a lone wolf charging into a crystal hive. 2 minutes to intercept, Liang announced as the Defiance slipped between the outer patrol vessels of the Shard formation. Chen rose from her command chair. All senior officers, report to Neural Integration. The Neural Integration chamber occupied the ship's core, a circular room bathed in blue light where 6 interfaced pods waited like high-tech sarcophagi. Dr. Rice stood at the central console, her hands dancing across holographic controls. I hoped we have more time before field testing this, Rice said as the officers filed in. The engineer's augmented left eye whirred as it focused, scanning each crew member's vitals. Your neural patterns already show elevated stress hormones. How long until the first patrol ship detects us? Chen asked Wayland. 7 minutes at current stealth capacity. Chen turned to face her senior staff, Liang, Park, Wayland, Rivera, and Dr. Chandra from Medical. What I'm about to tell you violates 8 different classification protocols. She gestured to Reyes, who activated a holographic display showing 2 neural patterns side by side. The one on the left is human, Reyes explained. The right is our best approximation of shard cognition based on captured technology. The difference was stark. The human pattern chaotic and unpredictable, the shard pattern perfectly symmetrical and ordered. The Mobius integration system doesn't just enhance our reaction time, Chen continued. It weaponizes the fundamental difference between human and shard cognition. Ray stepped into one of the interface pods. Demonstration is more effective than explanation. The pod sealed around her, neural filaments extending to connect with her cerebral cortex. The ship's tactical display suddenly transformed, firing solutions appearing and disappearing faster than the eye could track, probabilities shifting like quicksilver. The shard think in perfect, crystalline structures. Reyes's voice echoed through the chamber as the pod opened. A trickle of blood ran from her nostril. But humans think in beautiful mess. Intuition, inspiration, contradiction. The Shard have never encountered an enemy that doesn't follow logical patterns, Chen added. Their entire strategy relies on predictive algorithms. And what happens when prediction fails? Park asked. Chaos, Chen replied simply. Each of you will integrate with your station systems. Your human intuition will become part of the ship's combat capabilities. Dr. Chandra stepped forward. Captain, the neural strain. I know the risks. Chen cut her off. No test subject has maintained integration beyond 7 minutes without permanent damage. And the NOVA system's quantum feedback could trap fragments of consciousness in pocket dimensions. Rise added bluntly. We might win the battle, but lose ourselves. Security Chief Nkosi, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. So we're sacrificing our humanity to save humanity. Chen didn't answer directly. Instead, she activated a holographic projection showing the school shelter on New Tharsis. 30 children huddled together while their teacher tried to maintain calm. Outside the reinforced windows, crystalline shapes moved closer. Integration is voluntary, Chen said quietly. Anyone who declines will be reassigned to non-critical systems. No one moved. Very well. Chen nodded to Reyes. Begin the integration sequence. One by one, they entered the pods. As the neural filaments connected to Chen's cerebral cortex, she felt her consciousness expanding. first encompassing the bridge, then the entire ship, and finally stretching outward to perceive the battlefield in its entirety. Time seemed to slow as her awareness merged with the Defiance's sensors. She could feel the shard vessels now, their ordered movements like a complex mathematical equation waiting to be disrupted. When the integration completed, the officers returned to their stations, each moving with an uncanny synchronization. Blood vessels burst in Rivera's left eye, turning the sclera crimson, but she didn't seem to notice. "All stations report," Chen commanded, her voice overlapping with Aria's harmonic tones as their consciousness partially merged. "Weapons integrated. Navigation integrated. Communications integrated. Tactical integrated." Chen allowed herself the briefest smile. "Then let's show the shard what human unpredictability looks like. Disengage stealth. Power NOVA systems to maximum." The Defiance's stealth field collapsed in a ripple of energy, revealing itself at the edge of the shard formation like a wolf that had slipped inside the flock. It was time to bare their teeth. The moment the Defiance dropped its stealth field, the nearest shard vessels pivoted with mechanical precision. Their crystalline hulls pulsed with energy as targeting systems locked onto the human intruder. "Incoming fire, multiple vectors," Wayland announced, his voice eerily calm despite the sweat beading on his forehead. Chen didn't need the warning. Through the neural interface, she felt the energy building within the enemy vessels like pressure against her skin. Evasive pattern Kappa 7. Before the words fully left her mouth, Liang had already executed the maneuver. The Defiance corkscrewing through space as lances of blue energy sliced through their previous position. "Aria, initiate infiltration protocol," Chen ordered. "Infiltrating shard network," the AI confirmed, her voice harmonizing with the ship's systems. "Exploiting quantum entanglement vulnerabilities." Through the neural link, the crew experienced Aria's infiltration as a sensation of ice spreading through their thoughts. Fragments of shard communication flickered across their shared consciousness, geometric patterns rather than language. "First target acquired," Wayland reported, his consciousness merged with the weapon systems. "NOVA emitters primed." "Fire," Chen commanded. The NOVA system activated with a subsonic hum that vibrated through the ship's hull. Unlike conventional weapons, there was no visible beam or projectile, only a distortion of space-time between the Defiance and its target. Through their neural connections, the crew witnessed the effect. The targeted shard vessel didn't explode. It imploded, collapsing inward as its molecular structure folded through dimensions it was never designed to occupy. 23 surrounding vessels suffered the same fate, their perfectly aligned formation becoming their downfall as the quantum disruption cascaded through their entangled systems. Pain lanced through the crew's neural connections as feedback from the NOVA system overwhelmed their synapses. Chen tasted copper as blood filled her mouth, but she maintained focus. "Formations responding," Park warned. "They're adapting attack patterns." The surviving shard vessels rearranged themselves with fluid grace, transforming from a rigid lattice into a spiral formation that limited the cascading effect of the NOVA weapon. "They're learning," Chen realized. "Aria, analysis. The Shard Collective is implementing countermeasures. Estimated effectiveness of next NOVA strike reduced by 62%. Chen directed her consciousness through the neural link, perceiving the battlefield as a three-dimensional chessboard. "Liang, bring us to coordinates 739 by 124. The Defiance surged forward, diving deeper into the enemy formation. 3 shard destroyers moved to intercept, their weapons charging. "They're attempting to box us in," Wayland warned. "Let them," Chen responded. "Rivera, broadcast cognitive dissonance pattern on all frequencies." Rivera's fingers danced across her console, guided more by instinct than conscious thought. Broadcasting. The effect was immediate. The nearest shard vessels hesitated, their synchronized movements faltering as Rivera's transmission introduced chaotic human brainwave patterns into their network. "Now, Wayland, Target the junction points in their new formation. The weapons officer fired without hesitation, the NOVA system creating quantum disruptions at precisely calculated points. 17 more shard vessels collapsed upon themselves, creating a gap in the formation. But the victory was short-lived. A massive crystalline structure, 3 times the size of the Defiance, emerged from the heart of the formation, its surface fragmenting into thousands of smaller attack drones. Shard Nexus vessel detected, Araya announced. It is attempting to isolate our neural network. Chen felt a foreign presence probing at her consciousness, cold, precise, and utterly alien. Through the neural link, she sensed Torres struggling against the intrusion, his mental defenses crumbling. They're counter-hacking through Torres, Chen warned. Defensive protocols. Torres screamed, his neural connection becoming a backdoor for shard infiltration. Blood poured from his ears as his console sparked and shorted. Neural connection compromised. Dr. Chandra reported from medical. His mind can't handle the feedback. Sever his connection. Chen ordered, feeling a stab of guilt that was instantly compartmentalized through the neural interface. As Torres collapsed unconscious, the Defiance shuddered under direct hits from multiple shard vessels. Shield integrity dropped to 60%. They're surrounding us, Park announced grimly. And they've adapted to our evasion patterns. Chen surveyed the battlefield through enhanced perception. Despite their initial success, they were now enveloped by enemy vessels that had recognized their threat level and responded accordingly. Humanity had just lost the element of surprise. Weapons station compromised, Park reported as Torres was dragged from the bridge. The tactical display flickered, corrupted by shard code fragments. Chen made a decision that violated every protocol in fleet operations. Reroute weapons control to my neural interface. Captain, the neural load. Dr. Chandra began. Just do it. The additional connection slammed into Chen's consciousness like a physical blow. Her vision fractured, splitting between the bridge, the tactical overlay, and the weapon systems. Blood vessels burst in her left eye, turning the sclera crimson. Direct hit to starboard shield generators. Nkosi called out, his station sparking. Shield integrity at 43% and falling. The Defiance shuddered as coordinated fire from dozens of shard vessels hammered their defenses. Through her expanded perception, Chen witnessed the shard formation's reorganization, not just adapting but evolving their tactics in real time. They're predicting our movements, she realized. Araya, can you disrupt their predictive algorithms? Attempting, the AI replied. Shard computational matrices are resilient to standard. Don't use standard methods, Chen interrupted, an idea forming in her fractured consciousness. Nkosi, how do you track their firing patterns? The security chief hesitated. I've been interpreting them as musical progressions, rhythmic patterns with predictable. Feed that interpretation through your neural link, Chen ordered. Araya, integrate Nkosi's musical analysis with defensive systems. Despite their dire situation, Nkosi smiled. A counterpoint to their symphony. His neural connection flared as he channeled his unique perception into the ship's systems. The defensive shields began modulating in patterns that mirrored classical Earth compositions. Bach, Beethoven, Nyambura, creating harmonies that disrupted the mathematical precision of shard targeting. It's working, Park confirmed. Hit ratio down to 17%. Chen turned to Lang, whose hands trembled above the navigation controls. Liang, take us directly toward the Nexus vessel. That's suicide, Park objected. No, Chen countered, her dual consciousness processing tactical options at unprecedented speed. It's the last thing they'll expect. Ryaz, can you overclock the Mobius drive? The engineer's voice came through comms, strained but determined. I can push it to create probability shadows. We'll exist in multiple potential states simultaneously. Do it. The Defiance lurched as the Mobius drive's output doubled, creating a quantum field that smeared the ship across multiple probability states. To the shard sensors, the Defiance appeared to exist in several positions at once, making targeting nearly impossible. Liang guided the ship through the gaps in enemy fire. Her consciousness merged with navigation systems until the distinction between human and machine blurred. 3 minutes to Nexus vessel. Rivera, Chen called. You're still in contact with the school shelter. The communications officer nodded, her eyes unfocused as she maintained multiple channels through her neural link. They're still safe, but shard harvesters are entering the building. Send them this message. Cover your eyes in exactly 2 minutes. Chen refocused on the weapon systems, channeling her rage and determination through the neural interface. Prepare a full-spectrum NOVA burst on my mark. The ship bucked violently as a shard cruiser sacrificed itself, ramming their port section. Hull breach, decks 4 through 7, Park reported. Sealing compartments, Araya confirmed. 19 crew members unaccounted for. Chen compartmentalized the grief, storing it away for later, if there was a later. The neural interface transformed her emotions into tactical clarity as she plotted their approach vector. All remaining power to forward shields, she ordered. Nenove system to maximum capacity. Warning lights flashed across every console as the ship's systems were pushed beyond safety parameters. Through her neural link, Chen felt the ship's pain like it was her own body straining toward inevitable breakdown. Nexus vessel is activating something, Liang warned. Energy readings off the scale. Before them, the massive crystalline structure began to pulse with blinding light, channeling energy from surrounding shard vessels. 1 minute to optimal firing position, Wayland announced. Chen felt the Nexus reaching for their minds, probing the neural interfaces with cold precision. But where Torres had faltered, she stood firm, throwing up mental barriers forged from memories of Earth, of family, of humanity's chaotic, beautiful history. They can't comprehend us, she realized aloud. That's our true advantage. As the Defiants hurtled toward the heart of the enemy formation, Chen knew they wouldn't survive this, but they would ensure humanity did. 30 seconds to optimal firing position, Liang announced, her voice distorted by neural strain. The space between the Defiants and the Shard Nexus vessel filled with crystalline interceptors, their formation shifting to block the human ship's approach. Through her dual neural connections, Chen perceived them not as obstacles but as opportunities. Wayland, target pattern Zeta 9. She ordered, the weapon systems responding to her thoughts before she finished speaking. The NOVA system activated in short, controlled bursts, creating quantum disruptions that didn't destroy the interceptors, but instead altered their trajectories. Like a stone skipping across water, the Defiance used the resulting chaos to propel itself forward. Nexus charging primary weapon, Park warned. Energy signature unlike anything we've encountered. Through the neural link, time dilated for the crew. Seconds stretched into subjective minutes as their enhanced perception processed information at inhuman speeds. Chen saw the crystalline structure of the Nexus vessel with impossible clarity, and within it, a pattern of recursive symmetry that revealed its purpose. It's not a weapon, she realized aloud. It's a transmitter. They're calling for reinforcements. From where? Rivera asked, blood now streaming from both nostrils as she maintained her neural connection. Doesn't matter, Chen replied. They can't be allowed to complete the transmission. The Defiance shuddered as its hull absorbed another direct hit. Warning klaxons blared as structural integrity fell below critical levels. We won't survive another hit like that, Park reported grimly. Chen directed her consciousness deeper into the weapon systems, pushing beyond the safety limiters. Dr. Reyes, I need everything the NOVA system can give us, beyond recommended parameters. That level of quantum disruption could create a cascading reaction we can't control, Reyes warned, her voice faint through the damaged comm system. Exactly. Understanding dawned across the neural link they shared. Reyes didn't waste time arguing. Initiating NOVA overload sequence. You'll have 10 seconds once I bypass the safeguards. Chen turned to Araya. Prepare complete tactical data package of everything we've learned about shard vulnerabilities. Include neural pattern recordings from all crew members. Package compiled. Area confirmed. Where shall I transmit it? Tight beam burst to the colony's main communication array. Set it to automatically broadcast to Earth Fleet Command when we complete our mission. The AI's holographic face showed an emotion that shouldn't have been possible for her programming. Something like solemn pride. It has been an honor serving with you, Captain. Likewise, Area. Chen opened a ship-wide channel, her voice steady despite the blood now trickling from her ears. All hands, this is the captain. Prepare for maximum NOVA discharge. Anyone not neurally integrated, secure yourselves immediately. Through the forward view screen, the Nexus vessel's crystalline surface began to fragment, revealing a pulsing core of pure energy. No VA safeguards bypassed. Rise reported. 10 seconds until overload. Take us in, Liang. Full speed. The Defiance surged forward, its engines burning well beyond safety parameters. The distance between them and the Nexus closed rapidly. 5 seconds. Chen felt the minds of her crew through the neural network, their fear, determination, and acceptance flowing together into a singular purpose. 3 seconds. For Earth, someone whispered over the comm. Others echoed it. 2. Chen closed her eyes, picturing her sister's family on the colony below. 1. Now, Wayland. The NOVA system activated at full power, creating a quantum disruption unlike anything human science had predicted. The fabric of space-time around the Defiance folded inward before exploding outward in a sphere of distortion. The last thing Chen experienced through her neural connection was a sensation of the universe itself holding its breath, and then the impossible feeling of existing everywhere and nowhere simultaneously as the NOVA overload tore reality apart. Through eyes that no longer functioned in conventional spacetime, she witnessed something beautiful and terrible. The shard nexus imploding, its perfect crystalline structure collapsing into a singularity that pulled surrounding vessels into its grasp. Then darkness claimed her. Consciousness returned to Chen in fragments, sensations without context, perceptions without understanding. Her first coherent thought was surprise that she could have thoughts at all. Neural patterns stabilizing. Captain, can you hear me? The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Chen tried to open her eyes, but the concept of eyes suddenly felt foreign, restrictive. She's responding, but not conventionally. Her consciousness is dispersed. That was Dr. Chandra's voice. Chen tried to focus, to pull herself back into a singular existence. She perceived the neural network still active, but transformed. No longer a connection between human and machine, but a new state of being that was neither and both. What happened? Chen managed, her voice emerging from the ship's communication system rather than her physical body. You succeeded, Captain, came Aria's familiar tone, though it carried new harmonic depths. The Nexus vessel was destroyed, creating a quantum cascade that disabled the entire shard fleet. Memory returned in a rush, the NOVA overload, the folding of spacetime, the Nexus imploding, but something was missing. My body. Partially intact, Dr. Chandra replied carefully. But your consciousness underwent a transformation during the NOVA discharge. You exist primarily in the ship's systems now, alongside Aria. Chen extended her awareness, feeling the defiance around her like a new body. Damaged, barely functional, but alive. Through external sensors, she perceived the battlefield. The shard fleet drifting in disarray, their perfect formation shattered into random debris clusters. The colony. Safe, Rivera's weak voice answered. She lay on a makeshift medical bed, neural dampeners attached to her temples. The shard harvesters deactivated when the Nexus was destroyed. The children in the shelter are all alive. How long? 3 minutes, Park replied, his face haggard but eyes bright with astonishment. The entire battle lasted exactly 3 minutes and 17 seconds, Captain. Chen would have laughed if she remembered how. 3 minutes to change the course of a war that had been consuming human worlds for years. Status of the crew. Silence fell, heavy with grief. We lost 27, Chandra finally answered. The neural feedback was catastrophic for some. Chen extended her perception through the ship, counting survivors, assessing damage, and Reyes. Her physical body didn't survive the NOVA overload, Araya answered. But like you, fragments of her consciousness integrated with the ship's systems. She exists partially within the engineering subsystems. As if summoned by her name, Reyes's voice emerged from the engine room speakers. The Mobius drive is beyond repair, Captain, but I've become quite intimate with its quantum architecture. A strained laugh, more than I ever wanted to be. We've transmitted the tactical data to Earth Fleet Command, Park reported. They're sending a rescue vessel. Chen directed her perception outward, beyond the ship to the colony below. She could see things she shouldn't be able to see. Quantum probabilities, temporal fluctuations, the underlying patterns of reality itself. The shard will return, she stated with certainty. Yes, Araya confirmed, but they will not find the same humanity they left. The neural recordings of this encounter are already being studied. Earth Fleet is implementing what they've learned. Through cameras in the colony, Shen watched as people emerged from shelters, pointing at the sky where debris from the Shard fleet created a strange new constellation. On a playground outside the school shelter, children gazed upward in wonder rather than fear. They're calling it the Minute War, Rivera said softly. The day humanity stopped running. Chen's consciousness expanded further, touching briefly on realities beyond conventional understanding. In her transcended state, she glimpsed potential futures, some dark, some bright, all forever altered by what had happened here. Did we win? She asked, more to herself than anyone. Liang, who had been silent until now, looked up at the nearest speaker, the closest thing to making eye contact with her captain. We survived, Captain, and we proved they can be beaten. That's enough for today. And tomorrow? Chen asked. Tomorrow, Park replied with fierce determination. We evolve. 3 weeks after the Minute War, Admiral Zhao stepped onto the bridge of what remained of the UEA's Defiance. The salvage operation had towed the vessel to Europa shipyard, where teams of scientists swarmed over its damaged hull like curious insects. Is she aware I'm here? Zhao asked, glancing uncomfortably at the nearest console. She's aware of everything on this ship, Admiral, Park answered, now wearing a commander's insignia. The promotion had come amid a flurry of others for the surviving crew. A holographic interface materialized near Zhao. Not Araya's familiar pattern, but something new, a swirling nebula of light that occasionally cohered into a shape resembling Chen's features. Admiral. Chen's voice emerged from the ship's speakers, carrying harmonic undertones that hadn't existed before. I was wondering when Fleet Command would pay us a visit. Captain Chen, Zhao acknowledged awkwardly. Or should I address you differently now? Captain is fine. I still hold the rank, even if my circumstances have changed. Zhao cleared his throat. The Epsilon Eridani victory has changed everything, Captain. The neural data you transmitted has already led to breakthroughs in our defense systems. We've implemented countermeasures at 7 colony worlds. And the Shard response. That's why I'm here. Zhao activated the secure datapad. 3 Shard fleets have withdrawn from contested systems without engaging. There's no other word for it. They're retreating. A ripple of something like satisfaction passed through the bridge lighting. They've never encountered failure before, Chen observed. It's disrupted their perfect algorithmic certainty. Which brings me to my next point. Zhao hesitated. Fleet Command is fast-tracking production of 20 more NOVA-equipped vessels. But we need you. My neural patterns. Chen understood immediately. You need the interface template that allowed us to breach their defenses. Yes. Dr. Rice too, if she's available. A different voice emerged from the engineering station. "I'm always available for humanity's defense." Admiral, Reyes's digitized consciousness replied, "though my consulting fees have gone up considerably." Park suppressed a smile as Zhao shifted uncomfortably. "We'll need volunteers," Chen stated. "People willing to risk neural integration." "We have them," Zhao confirmed. "After what happened at Epsilon Eridani, recruitment has tripled. They're calling it the Chen Protocol Neural Integration with ship systems. It's dangerous," Chen warned. "We still don't understand the full effects, which is why we need you to help develop safer methods," Zhao countered. "Humanity needs every advantage against what's coming next." "And what is coming next, Admiral?" Chen asked, her perception extending beyond normal parameters to read the micro-expressions Zhao tried to hide. The Admiral's facade cracked. Long-range sensors detected a new shard formation assembling at the edge of known space, larger than anything we've encountered before. "They're adapting," Chen acknowledged, "as we knew they would." "Then you'll help us." Chen's consciousness brushed against Reyes's, a silent communication beyond human understanding. Their digital existence granted them perspectives no organic mind could comprehend, including potential futures branching like neural pathways. "Under one condition," Chen finally answered. "The Chen Protocol must remain voluntary. No conscription, no pressure, only those who choose this path." "Agreed," Zhao said without hesitation. "When can you begin?" "We already have," Reyes interjected. "We've developed modified neural interfaces that should reduce feedback by 70%. Zhao's eyebrows rose. "How did you?" "Time moves differently for us now," Chen explained simply. After Zhao departed, Park remained on the bridge, staring at Chen's holographic manifestation. "You glimpsed something when the NOVA system overloaded," he said quietly. "Something beyond our understanding." Chen's holographic form solidified briefly into a more human appearance. "I saw possibilities, Commander, not just for the war, but for what humanity might become. And evolution isn't optional," she replied. "The shard force us to adapt or perish. But unlike them, we choose our path forward." Beyond the viewport, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the void. Chen extended her awareness toward it, feeling the billions of chaotic, beautiful human minds, each one unique, unpredictable. The shard would return with new tactics, new formations, new weapons, but they would never understand what they faced, a species whose greatest strength was its beautiful imperfection. "The battle lasted minutes," Park mused, "but the war will be won by what we become," Chen finished, "and that evolution has only just begun."